Could the Philadelphia Eagles make a big splash and trade for DeAndre Hopkins? This is something that ESPN NFL expert Dan Orlovsky floated around on Twitter. D-Hop rumored to want out from Arizona, and after the Jalen Hurts contract extension, Philadelphia now has about $20 million available in cap space. Now, some of that money will go to their draftees in the 2023 NFL Draft, which is coming your way on Thursday, by the way. We'll be live for the entire first round. Subscribe and join us, but an interesting conversation nonetheless coming up on today's show. And here's what Dan Orlovsky had to say. Could the Eagles trade for and afford DeAndre Hopkins? Is that feasible for them? We'll explore that coming up. But again, make sure you support the show. Subscribe, because the bosses have told me if we don't get 100 subscribers on today's show, we might go sub-only mode if we don't get that amount of subscribers, meaning our videos will only be available to those of you who have subscribed. So if you love the Eagles, I give you Eagles shows every single day. Go Birds. We also want to welcome a brand new sponsor on board here at Eagles Now, and a lot of you will really like this sponsor, especially if you get down with us during some of our crazy watch parties and our live shows. It is Zbiotics. You can see for yourself at zbiotics.com/chatsports. It is a pre-alcohol probiotic drink. And let's face it, after y'all hit me with a bunch of super chats, I don't bounce back like I used to the next day because I'm 31 years old now. Getting older, that is, until I found Zbiotics, and that's not a problem. I was recently in Key West in D.C. I was drinking every single day. How did I bounce back to get to my workouts, go running, swimming, biking? Zbiotics. It's a pre-alcohol probiotic, and it's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. And here's how it works. When we drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. And Zbiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut, where you need it the most. So you drink Zbiotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, of course, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Give it a try at zbiotics.com/chatsports. The Fly Eagles Fly family gets 15% off your first order when you use the code CHATSPORTS at checkout. And get this, it is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. So one more time, promo code CHATSPORTS at zbiotics.com/chatsports. We'll put that link in the comment section and in the description of this video. So let's circle back to DeAndre Hopkins here. We'll also talk Budda Baker on the episode today. You think about this overarching question for the Eagles wide receiver room. Do the Eagles have a need at wide receiver? Not really. A.J. Brown set the record for the most receiving yards in a single season last year in franchise history. Devontae Smith set the record for the most receptions in franchise history in a single season. That is probably one of the top wide receiver duos in the NFL. But wide receiver 3, a little bit of an issue. And while the Eagles might not have a need at wide receiver, does offense win in today's NFL? Yes, and it is a resounding yes. You think about the 2 Super Bowls that the Eagles have participated in recently. Super Bowl 52, Super Bowl 57. Both of those games shootouts, and the Eagles, frankly, could have scored more points in both of them, and they could put up more points with DeAndre Hopkins. This is the Eagles wide receiver depth chart as of right now. A.J. Brown, wide receiver number 1, of course. Devontae Smith, he'd be a wide receiver 1 on a lot of other teams. You bring in Olamide Zaccheaus, who I think is a very talented wide receiver, a speed gadget guy who has really good quickness and short area burst. We'll see what that signing means for Quez Watkins. And then as the backups, Britton Covey, Devin Allen, who will be competing for a roster spot for Philadelphia in 2023 training camp, can't get here soon enough. And the Eagles wide receiver production in 2022, some of the best all-around production that we've seen in the history of this franchise. Of course, some of that has to do with the rule changes in the NFL and how the game has changed. But either way, Jalen Hurts was able to take that next step because Howie Roseman gave him some legitimate weapons. A.J. Brown, I talked about the record-breaking season, 88 grabs, still had 1,500 yards nearly with 11 touchdowns, a red zone threat, and a deep threat as well. He is the closest thing to Terrell Owens, as I like to say, since we've seen T.O. and Devontae Smith. More receptions, a guy who can line up out wide in the slot, a do-it-all type of wide receiver with great hands, great route running ability. He was terrific, but the point here being, I do think, and I've continued to say this all throughout the offseason, the Eagles need an upgrade at wide receiver 3. And Quez Watkins, he ain't it. Could DeAndre Hopkins be that guy? We'll take a look at the numbers around the corner, but first, we want to hear from you in the comment section. Your level of interest in DeAndre Hopkins is what? Scale it for me from 1 to 100. 1, don't want him. 100, all in. Let me know. As for DeAndre Hopkins' contract, he's expensive, no question. 2023, $21.7 million in base salary. In 2024, $17.2. So it does go down. And then in 2025, an unrestricted free agent. A little bit older, games played over the last couple of years, somewhat of a concern, but very good production when he has been on the field. DeAndre Hopkins is a big body, jump ball wide receiver who can go up and get it and offers a skill set that this Eagles offense does not have. And he has steadily been one of the more dynamic playmakers in this game. So DeAndre Hopkins, certainly very, very interesting. Dan Orlovsky thinks so as well. Before we move forward to Budda Baker, Elon Musk took my blue check mark away on Twitter. So help me get over this disastrous scenario where I am heartbroken. Just kidding. But either way, give me a follow if you want to interact with me on Twitter at Chase_Senior. Who cares if I'm verified or not? This is the real me, and you get the real me all the time. As for Budda Baker, according to a report out there, there is mutual interest between Budda Baker and the Philadelphia Eagles. This is very, very interesting on a couple of fronts because the Eagles lost a couple of their safeties in free agency. 2 starters, C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Marcus Epps. And Budda Baker is a fascinating player because you can use him as a chess piece where he can line up all across the football field. His snap alignment in 2022, it's backed up by the fact of what I just said. This guy plays multiple areas all across the football field and can impact games in a plethora of ways. He had 413 snaps at free safety. He was in the slot for 148 snaps. He was in the box as a box safety for 349 snaps. And he was on the defensive line being sent home on some blitz packages for 41 snaps. Even though the Eagles did bring in Terrell Edmunds on that 1-year deal in free agency, they still have a need at safety. If you don't think that Reed Blankenship is that guy, they signed Justin Evans, but he's more of a backup option. Injury concerns for him because he missed 3 seasons. I like Reed Blankenship, but I think he's more suited as a very good backup. You have Kevon Wallace as well. But here's the deal. None of the players on your screen right now are the caliber of player of Budda Baker. And I'm always amazed at these numbers because we just took a gander at his snap alignment, and these numbers certainly back up that he's all over the field. He's also a good cultural player as well. He said that he'd love to play for Nick Sirianni. But look at the diversity of his craft here. In 2019, 147 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 6 pass breakups, 0 interceptions. 2020, surpassed 100 tackles once again, 9 tackles for loss, 6 pass breakups, 2 picks. In 2021, 98 tackles, 6 TFLs, 7 pass breakups, and 3 picks. And in 2022, 111 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, so not as active in the backfield, 7 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions. What do those numbers show you? Shows you the snap alignment, right? And how it makes sense. Box safety, at corner, blitz packages, on the defensive line, deep safety as well. That's how he's able to make all of these plays. Now, like DeAndre Hopkins, his teammate, he's also a pretty expensive player. So you wouldn't make a deal for both of them. You'd have to pick only one. Budda Baker, though, if you love him and you think that he can be a guy who can help out your defense, a guy who can push you over the edge to help you get back to the Super Bowl, to be a contender and a favorite in the NFC, $14.7 million, pretty affordable considering he's still young and the impact that he can have everywhere with his fingerprints all over the place on the defensive side of the rock. So let's round out this segment with this. What do you think about Budda Baker as a player? Do you think he's overrated, type O? You think he's underrated, type U? Do you think he's properly rated, type P? Now, a lot of real football fans out there know that this guy is a stud, but he plays for a franchise that not a lot of people care about.